time for our Bhagavad Gita. From today, there's a slight change. Instead of the practice of the Bhagavad Gita, I'm modifying it to the revision of the practice of the Bhagavad Gita. For 90 days, we have been going through shlok after shlok, finding things that we can learn from them, and not just learn, but do sadhanas from the teachings of those shlokas. I don't think there is anything more that I can tell you to do, but we can revise briefly everything that we have learned in the last 90 days. So today being day 91, I have chosen shlok 30 of the second adhyay, chapter 2, verse 30. Let's read it. Dehi nityam avadyoham, dehi nityam avadyoyam, dehe sarvasya bharata, tasmat sarvani bhutani, na tvam shochitum arhasi. Arjun, Bhagavan is saying, this soul dwelling in the bodies of all can never be slain. Therefore, you should not mourn for anyone. We must get our basics right. If we know where we are headed and what that place is, then our journey becomes meaningful, purposeful, and more likely to succeed. If we want to realize what the self is, then we need to know what that self is. What is that Atma? So, Bhagavan says that this Atma, this soul, which is there in all beings, can never be slain. And therefore, we should not mourn for anyone. Of course, the Gita is not teaching us to be callous and hard-hearted. It is natural to feel sad at the loss of a loved one, of course. And even there is no harm in expressing that grief, for whether you feel like crying. Of course, it is natural. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, our understanding should be clear from these teachings of how we should deal with that loss. If we keep on holding on indefinitely to our grief, allowing that grief to pull us down, continuously thinking of the loss of the loved one, then that kind of grief is tamasic. It is not recommended. It is not sattvic. So Bhagavan says, don't mourn. What he means is, don't mourn indefinitely. All right? Why? See, when we sleep at night, we get dreams. And in our dreams, we see ourselves and others also in various avatars, in different forms. Sometimes those forms are beautiful. Sometimes we are really rich and sukhi. And sometimes those forms are really formidable. They are quite ridiculous and improbable also. And seeing all those various kinds of forms, we feel sometimes dukkhi, sometimes sukhi, sometimes happy, sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry. But when we wake up from that dream, when we wake up from our sleep, we find ourselves exactly the same. We have not changed anything. It's only in the dream that we had all these different apparitions of who we are. And when we wake up, we don't mourn for that dream avatar. We don't cry because we have lost that beautiful, form that we saw of ourselves in our dream. In the same way, the Atma, which is there with us in every lifetime. The Atma witnesses this cover that we get, this body. And every lifetime, the body changes. Just like in every dream, our form changes. Atma sees this form, witnesses that form, but remains kutastha, remains established within itself. A wise person is exactly like that. A wise person does not mourn the condition of the body. The Atma is not changing. The body is only changing. The Atma is forever. The body is temporary. The Atma doesn't change. The Atma doesn't cry. The Atma doesn't mourn. It's only the physical body that has all these various emotions, various forms, various shapes, various everything. So the wise person who has understood this will say, all right, I understand the body is simply matter, and all matter is impermanent. I know that the body will die. I know everybody's body will die. Even my body will die. But the Atma, who I truly am, will remain eternal, right? And if my Atma is eternal forever, the others is also eternal. Therefore, the wise man does not mourn the death of something that is bound to be impermanent and therefore passes on. So, is there anything that we can do? Is there any technique by which we can train ourselves to find out, to be established in that difference between this temporary body and that permanent self who we truly are? That's what we have been doing for the last 90 days. First and foremost, through satsang, we will know that our true nature is divinity. Every single day, not just for 90 days, but for 2 years, we have been affirming my true nature is Atma, right? Now, we have to understand something. By listening to the teachings of Bhagavan, understand that we come into the world with a body. Now you have to see this body as if it is a fancy dress costume. You know, fancy dress costume, different things you dress up as. And who is dressing up? Atma. Who is Atma? Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is visiting us, let's say, in different fancy dress costumes. For what reason? He's coming in different forms. What kind of forms? He's coming as a mother. Bhagavan comes as your father. Bhagavan comes as your sibling, brother, sister. The Bhagavan comes with fancy dress costumes as your husband, as your wife. Bhagavan comes as your sandpaper. Bhagavan is coming in all these different forms, and that costume is this physical body. Why is Bhagavan coming in so many different forms, even as your sandpaper? Bhagavan is coming to teach us something. What? Unconditional love. Glad acceptance. Simple. That is the teaching. Why Bhagavan is coming to us? To teach us to love unconditionally and to accept gladly whatever is. If we learn this lesson, which Bhagavan is teaching us, then we will clearly be able to see that this body is simply a costume, and through that costume, you will be able to see Bhagavan. You will get that drishti of being able to see Bhagavan where? In yourself and in everyone else. And if that is so, if this costume is just some temporary costume, which people have to keep changing, right? You'll not go to every fancy dress competition with the same costume. You will not even go to a party with the same costume. You will not go to office with the same costume. You will not come to satsang with the same costume. You keep changing it. That same way, this body costume, you keep changing from lifetime to lifetime. But you remain constantly, forever, eternally the same. Therefore, we do not mourn for anyone. And that is the meaning of this shloka. So what training should we give? Train yourself to see Bhagwan through and through those fancy dress costumes, which happens to be this physical body. And that's how you can take this particular shlok and implement it in your life, because we all lose our loved ones from time to time, isn't it? So this is a good way to remain kutastha, established in the self. Let's chant.